All right, so for this first one, the first thing that you're going to have to do is find the missing side. You can call it A, you can call it B, you can call it X if you want to. It really doesn't matter. I'm going to call it A, but you need to find that missing side. So it's going to be A squared plus 2 squared equals 10 squared. And we're going to just do our Pythagorean theorem for that. And so you do get 96. We are going to have to split that. I'm not 100% sure what goes into 96, but you're allowed a calculator for this stuff. So let me share my screen. And you would just want to try 96 divided by something that's a perfect square until you get it to work. So what do you want to try? Good guess. 16, and then the other number is 6. I don't know why this thing is coming up here, but 16 and 6. Fight with this here. And so, yes, it is 4 square root of 6. We don't do negatives because it's a side of a triangle and you don't have negative distances. All right. So do you see how this is the one where theta is labeled? This right here. That's your point of view. That's like you are here on the map. That's like your star. So 2 would be your opposite. 10 is hypotenuse. Good. And then that 4 square root of 6 is adjacent. Okay. So if you don't know your SOHCAHTOA yet, you have until next time. Sine is what over what? Good. So that would be 2 over 10, which reduces to 1/5. Does anyone remember how to say this one? If not, I'll remind you, but I'm just throwing it out there. Cosecant. Good job. And all you do is flip it over. So 5 over 1 or just 5. I would take 5 over 1. That's perfectly fine. All right. Cosine would be adjacent over hypotenuse. So that is 4 square root of 6 over 10. Now you can't touch what's underneath the roots. So that square root of 6 is just going to be square root of 6. Like cover that up. But you can reduce 4/10. What will that reduce to? Yeah, 2/5. Does anyone remember how to say this one? Secant. Good job. And you're just going to flip this over. So 5 over 2 square root of 6. Now that one you have to do what's called rationalizing. You multiply by the square root of 6. And if you can do it in your head, you don't need to write that, okay? But that's going to come out to 5 square root of 6 over 2 times 6. Because there's a 2 in there, so 12. Good job. It usually would just be 5 square root of 6 over 6. There was just a 2 in there. So 2 times 6 was 12 is all we did. I think the same thing happens in this one. So let's try it again. Tangent is opposite over adjacent. So 2 over 4 square root of 6. And again, you can't touch what's inside the root, but you can reduce the rest of it. So what is that going to reduce down to? Yeah, that would be 1/2. The 2/4 would be 1/2. So it's going to look like this. And actually, we're going to catch a break here because if you flip that, you're going to just get what? Yeah, good job. Usually there's 2 of them you have to rationalize. We did this one. Where's the other one that has a root in the bottom? Oh, it's that one. So yeah, so usually there's 2. Actually, always there's 2 that you have to rationalize that you end up with a root in the denominator. So if you multiply by square root of 6, that's going to give you square root of 6 over 12. And that's your final answer then. All right, for the rest of these, we're going to have to draw a triangle ourselves. So go ahead and draw yourself a right triangle. And we're going to do a ton of this in our lesson today as well. You have A, B, and C. It really doesn't matter where A and B go. This is your A squared plus B squared equals C squared. That's where this comes from. It really doesn't matter where A and B go, but which side has to be C? The hypotenuse has to be C. The last one, 12 over square root of 6. It will come out to this anyway. That is a good question. Can you guys all listen to the answer? If you were to take this and flip it, 12 over square root of 6, when you rationalize, you're going to get 12 square root of 6 over 6 and this reduces to 2. So it will come out the same anyway. So however you want to think your way through it is perfectly fine with me. All right, so I'm going to put A here, B here, C here. Angles get capital letters, sides get lowercase letters. Okay, and I'm going to stick with A, B, and C, but when you do your delta math, they might use P, Q, and R. You know, don't get hung up on the letters, I guess, but C has to be, you know, the hypotenuse. And they go across from each other. So C, baby C, little c would go across from big C, although we don't have that. Little a goes across from angle A, so this would be the 8. B is 28 degrees, and we're missing baby B and baby C. So that's how they work. The angles are the capital letters, and the sides are the lowercase letters, and they just go across from each other. So how would we get angle A? Because that's going to be the easiest one to get, so I put that first. Yeah, the whole triangle has to be 180, but 90 of it is taken up with that right angle. So you can just do 90 minus 28. You get a calculator for all of this. So A is going to be 62 degrees. All right, for the others, you need sine, cosine, or tangent. This is your point of view because that's the one that's labeled, this 28. That means 8 is the what? Adjacent, good. Little baby B is opposite. Do you see that there? And then C is hypotenuse. So let's set up a problem to find little b. Sine, cosine, or tangent. You have 8, which is the adjacent, and you're looking for little b. So good. It would be tangent of what? 28, good. Equals, now tangent, that's TOA. That's opposite over adjacent. So b over 8. How am I going to type that in? Good. There you go, 4.253. All right, and then for baby C, you have 8, which is the adjacent, and then C is hypotenuse. So what do we use for adjacent and hypotenuse? That'd be cosine, good. Ca, adjacent and hypotenuse. So cosine 28 equals 8 over C. Now, that one's a little bit different. Do you remember how to type that when your variables, you have to divide. Good, it's 8 divided by cosine 28. So when your variable's on the bottom, you have to divide. So it's going to look like this. There we go. 9.060. If you were like, hey, didn't quite get that, cool, let's try it again. Draw yourself a right triangle. It doesn't really matter where A and B go, but C has to be the right angle because in your A squared plus B squared equals C squared, little c has to be the hypotenuse. Which actually we have little c. 12 is going to go there. And then little b, baby b is 4.3. Again, they go across from each other. So if this is angle B, little b goes there. And then we're missing baby A. So first, to get angle A, I would just find them in the order they are on here. I mean, I guess if you don't want to, that's fine, but I'm just going to go in the order they're written on the paper. To get angle A, this is your point of view, because that's the thing you're trying to find. That means 4.3 is the what? Adjacent, good. And then this is hypotenuse. So sine, cosine, or tangent. Cosine of A equals 4.3 over 12. Because we're looking for the angle, does anyone remember how to type that one? Yeah, inverse. And where do I go to get that? Yeah, functions, and they're right there. We want, what was it, cosine inverse, the little -1. 4.3 divided by 12. So 69.002. And I'm going to show you a trick to get angle B. You know how the whole thing adds up to 180? But 90 of it is taken up with the right angle. If you just take this and do 90 minus it, that's going to give you the other one. So you don't even have to have any work for that. It's just 90 minus that will give you the other one. So that is 20.998. All right, and then to get little a, we're going to do Pythagorean theorem. So it's going to be a squared plus 4.3 squared equals 12 squared. So let me see, what's 4.3 squared? I'm not going to share my screen again for that. Let me just, will you trust me? 18.49, or some of you have calculators up if you typed it as well. I got 18.49. 12 squared we should know though. What's that one? 144. And then you would subtract that over. Again, I just typed it in the calculator real quick. I got 125.51. And then what's your last step? Yep, good. Square root. So square root of 125.51 is 11.203. Again, I just typed it in real quick. You just type it into Desmos. Do you guys know where the square root is in Desmos? Just to make sure, like it's right here. If you open this little keyboard menu and like noodle around in here long enough, you'll find everything. It's all there. All right, let's try the word problems. What? Yeah, but they're all triangles. You just have to have an imagination. That's all. A person looks at the top of a cliff with an angle of elevation of 75. Where does that go? Bottom, good. 75, right there. She's standing 35 meters away from the cliff. So where does the 35 go? Yeah, that's the bottom of the triangle. How tall, this is your question mark, is the cliff? So where does X go? The other, like the vertical part. All right. Sine, cosine, or tangent? Tangent. Opposite and adjacent. If you don't have the hypotenuse, it's tangent, which it usually is. So tangent of 75 equals, good, X over 35. And I'm going to type 35 tangent 75. 130, bless you, 0.621, bless you. Now be careful with your units. Was it meters or feet or yards or meters? Just read the problem. Basically, units is me checking that you read the problem. That's really all it is. Yes, go ahead. Then if your variable's on the bottom, then you divide. So it would have been 35 divided by tangent of whatever. That's what I typed for this one over here. Where was it? See how C was on the bottom? So I typed 8 divided by cosine 28. So you just need to divide instead. All right, one more. Jerry is looking out his window. Angle of depression of 47, but where does that go? Come on. The sky and the ground, in theory, are parallel. I get that the earth is round, all right? There's curvature to the earth, but if you want to talk about that, you can go to a physics classroom, all right? He sees George walking. Jerry's window is on the 5th floor. It's 50 feet above the ground. So where does 50 go? Yep, on the left side, the vertical part. How far away is George from Jerry's building? So X goes there. This is a Seinfeld problem. Tangent of 47. Oh, here, you're going to get to see me type that. It'll be, yeah, so do you see how the X is on the bottom? The X is in the denominator. So what I'm going to type is, hold on, we're almost time. You guys all stopped listening to me. 50 divided by tangent 47. 46.625. What are our units? Feet. Real quick, if instead you were looking for the angle, your units would not be feet or meters. It is automatically degrees. So just be really careful with that, because if you're finding an angle, angles aren't in feet. Okay.